Dear viewers, a very warm welcome to you all. Imagine a world in which you couldn't understand when a friend was feeling sad or when a coworker was angry. Psychologists refer to this ability as emotional intelligence. During this episode, our guest Nabiilah Fakira will explain to us more about the concept of emotional intelligence and the importance to perceive, manage, and evaluate our feelings, emotions in order to lead a healthy mental and physical life. Nabiilah, thank you so much for joining us in the studio of the MBC.
Thank you very much, Koyal, for inviting me to talk about such an important topic.
Nabiilah, nowadays in this digital world, the more technology we have, the more we automate things, machines carry out most of our tasks, and the more we realize the importance of emotions. Explain to us what is exactly emotional intelligence and is it actually an innate characteristic?
Um, uh, Obviously, Koyal, as you mentioned, nowadays we have a lot of facilities, I would say, in terms of technology, etc. But nothing can replace the actual emotion, the actual human touch that we bring to our relationship, and that relates to emotional intelligence. Because we, as human individuals, we are the only species, because we form part in the animal species, we are the only type that has the ability to feel certain emotions and to understand why others are feeling in such a way. So emotional intelligence, if I try to define it in a simple way, it is our ability, first of all, to understand our own emotion and also to understand the emotion of others in order to facilitate our daily activities at work, in our personal life, etc.
It depends on nature and nurture then. Can we say that that is the environment that one has grown into and the personality traits that one actually has which may influence the socio-emotional behavior?
Yes, to a certain extent, because I will explain why to a certain extent, but first let's focus on, is it inert? Yes, because it is inert to have emotion, because we as human individuals, we have a certain region, a certain system called the limbic system in our brain that is very responsible to emotions. So someone, as the child is born, that child has the ability, inert ability, to feel certain emotions. Okay, so that part is inert. But coming to emotional intelligence, even though some people will have emotions, but not all of them will have the ability to be aware of their emotion and to self-regulate. So to answer your question whether emotional intelligence is inert or you develop it through time, I would say it's a 50-50, or even it's more like you acquire it. It's a skill that you need to acquire.
What are the domains of emotional intelligence?
Actually, there are 5 domains of emotional intelligence. The first one is self-awareness, where the person is aware about why he or she is feeling this way, and to make an assessment of what is the information that is behind that emotion. The second one is, once you know what you're feeling, then you self-regulate, like you control, you adapt to the situation, to the emotion. That's the second part, self-regulation. And then the third one, you self-motivate yourself, which is another domain of emotional intelligence. Are you able to build a certain intrinsic motivation? The fourth one is the social awareness. This part is not to you, but to understand your surrounding, like your friend, your partner, your family member. Are they feeling certain emotion? Are they sad? So understand the social awareness, have a social awareness, basically. And the last one is social skills. Once you know what the person is feeling and what the person is going through, then how are you communicating to that person? How are you influencing that person? Can you be a change catalyst to this person? So there are five domains of emotional intelligence.
Nabiilah, human beings, like you mentioned earlier, are like social animals. We are wired for connections. The more we can build positive relationship, the more we develop a cooperative connection, and the more enriching our lives may be. Do you believe that emotional intelligence may enhance our life? Does it correlate with the kind of happiness we may feel?
Yes, it is. It has been proven actually scientifically that there is a correlation. That is, there is a relationship between emotional intelligence and the quality of life. I would break it down to explain that to you. So let's say someone is having a very stressful life, a lot of pressure at work, pressure at home, but that person is able to be aware when he or she is feeling a little bit stressed out, a little bit angry, a little bit sad, etc. Then the person can self-regulate. So when the person is self-regulating, the emotion is no longer a problem, because the person is doing actually something to deal with that emotion, to overcome that emotion. So now, instead of erupting like a volcano when the person is angry, the person is communicating, so it equals to less conflict. When it equals to less conflict, so the quality of life will change not only for you, but also for your family member. So this is why, this is an example where you can see the direct link between someone who is emotionally intelligent, and the meaning of life, the quality of life. So higher emotional intelligence equals to a better quality of life.
In that sense, by being self-aware of our emotions, it allows in a way to take the focus from the negative side, right, of life and be more grateful.
Yes, as I always say in my sessions, with my patients or clients, I always say if you're feeling certain emotion is just a part of the story. So if you look at emotion very closely, there is a message that is at the back. So the emotion is an indicator. It indicates that something is happening, like you are angry. It doesn't happen like you wake up one day and you are angry for no reason. There should be a reason behind it. There is always a reason behind it. And for someone who is emotionally intelligent, that person will try to decode. So I'm feeling angry right now. Why? It's because that person has disrespected me. So now I feel like, oh, now I know. So respect is something important for me. Someone to respect me is something that I value. Now I understand why I'm angry. So next time you feel that someone is disrespecting you, you can communicate that. See, this is not something that I like. This is not something that I accept. So if you're not going to respect me, I'm not going to talk to you. So now you see how self-awareness and self-regulation works hand in hand. And that is a person who is emotionally intelligent.
It's important to be aware of your strength and weakness then.
Absolutely. And I would take the context of relationship, because we are wired to connect with people. It can be with your friends or with your partner. Both examples are the same. So why it's important for us to know our strength and weakness? So that we can communicate that to our partner, to the person next to us. Let's say sometimes I feel really sad when I don't get chocolate. We're going to take a silly example. So then I'll be able to communicate that to my partner. So chocolate is really important for me. And now the person will understand you better. So this one is not your strength or it's more your preference. Now coming to your strength and weakness, if you are able to communicate, I'm not so good at, for example, talking to a lot of people. I'm not a very extrovert, so I'm more quiet type of person. When you communicate that to your family member, they will understand why you are quiet in that particular context. So when you know your strength and your weakness, you are able to communicate it, and the person is able to accommodate, adapt to you. Now, if you know your weakness and your strength, there are certain weaknesses that we can work on, because it's important for our context, it's important for our work. So once you know, you can change, because you can't change what you don't know.
Nabiilah, emotions are spontaneous. We don't really choose our emotion, but it's important that we don't let our emotions control us. Can we say that a low emotional intelligence person let their emotion control them?
Yes, it is absolutely true because I would call that I put that in a funny way. Like your emotion is here for a purpose. It's not like, okay, I have an emotion, it's just here just to make my life difficult. No, emotion serves its purpose. But it's up to you to decide whether you make your emotion serve you or you make your emotion master you. So that's your difference. I would break it down. When an emotion is serving you, I am sad today. Why am I sad today? Because I haven't been able to see the person I love, the person I care for. So I haven't met that person. So now I'm sad. So that is kind of, you understand the context. That's the message behind. The message is sadness is because I missed that person. So now I know. So you see the link.
Mm-hmm.
But if it were now, if someone is a person that has low emotional intelligence, what happened is the person will be sad, won't know why they are sad, and they would let that sadness grow. So now they are like, oh, I'm sad, I start crying, I can't work, I can't do anything in my life. Now the emotion is controlling them. The first example is you've understood. So I miss that person, I take the phone, okay, I miss you. But the second one is, no, I haven't been able to communicate because I don't know, and it's not healthy for me, nor for my partner.
Like you've mentioned, some people are born with emotional intelligence, while for some it has to be acquired. It's a skill that has to be learned and developed throughout time. Share with us some of the techniques that may help some people to develop emotional intelligence.
First of all, I would just like to put an emphasis on the first part. Like some people are born with emotional
Yes.
intelligence. Actually, to be self-aware, some people can acquire it more naturally. Like it's easy for them. It's much more easy compared to other people, but they still have to learn it in a certain point in their life. But some people are born more empathetic, so they understand people more. It's because of their personality. So these people, they are more, we call that people's person-centered. So they are more connected, they are easily connected to people. Since very little, they will talk, they will have a friendly attitude, etc. The second part is you have to acquire, even though you are an empathetic person, you still have to learn how to control the emotion, how to regulate it, etc., etc. So now the tips and tricks how to develop emotional intelligence, I would say it starts with you. The first component, the first domain is self-awareness. So that's bang on, the first one. You want to develop self-awareness, go learn about yourself. You can do journaling. Who you are as a person, what's your goal in life, what are your values, what are your norms, what are the things that disturbs you. So you have to dive deep inside yourself to know who you are, like Nabiilah, who you are as a person. Where do you come from? Not where I live, but what's my perspective of life, etc. Sometimes people get difficulties to do that by themselves. Why? Because there's blank spot. Like some people are not able to see themselves because they are kind of judgmental towards themselves, or it's just other people has always told them, like, you have to do this, that, etc. So then it's interesting to just go in a session, either a therapeutic session or a coaching session, and there the coach or the psychologist will help you understand, will help you identify who you are with specific questions. So it starts with self-awareness, and then the rest will follow. Again, with tricks and tips, but the first one is self-awareness.
Can we say that emotional intelligence is linked with a people-pleasing attitude?
You know, the moment you were asking that question, like, it hit me directly. Like, if you are an emotionally intelligent person, or you're a person pleaser, no, I don't think so. Because when you try to define emotional intelligence, when you're looking at in depth, when you learn about it, you understand that an emotionally intelligent person are generally highly successful people, happy people, etc. And if you are someone who is always pleasing other people, that doesn't mean you'll be happy. So then you see, it's not in line. So my answer to that is no, because if you are emotionally intelligent, you will understand that, okay, I don't want to eat Chinese today, so I don't want, if I eat it, I'll be sick. I'm not doing it. So then you are not a people pleaser. You won't please that person. You would just say in a very friendly way, look, I can't do this. I can't eat this because I don't like it. So the difference is an emotionally intelligent person will have a way of saying it.
Exactly. I think that an emotionally intelligent person, first of all, should be able to control his emotion or her emotion and be able to, like, understand the perception of others as well.
Exactly.
But shouldn't put himself or herself, her emotion at risk, be able to take care of yourself first.
Exactly, because if you don't take care of yourself, and I'm going to say this very loud today, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of other people.
Others.
Even if you are a psychologist, you are a coach, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't help your patient, your client. If you are a doctor, if you don't take care of your health, you can't take care of
Definitely.
other people's health. It starts with you, right? And so that's the message behind. You can't just please be. Obviously, sometimes you will do it. And again, I would say another thing very clear and loud here is not because you've gone through trainings of emotional intelligence, or you've listened to that show today, you've watched that show today, or you are yourself a psychologist or coach, whatever, doesn't mean that you will have 100% control over your emotion most of the time. Even me, sometimes I would be angry, I would be sad.
Definitely.
And sometimes most of the time I'll try to understand why, but there are other times that it doesn't click, right? It doesn't click, and it will take a little bit time to, even that, because that we are human, we are the
We
way
are
we are.
meant to feel every type of emotion.
Exactly.
Actually.
And we can't be perfect all the time. And sometimes we will be aware to a 50%, and that's okay.
Definitely.
Don't be harsh on yourself, but don't take it as a pattern. Like every time, okay, I'm human, so I'm gonna burst like a volcano. No. I always give like 10%, like, 10% you have to handle me, because that's that's the human part.
Definitely.
I'm not perfect. But that's the message. Even if you feel that you're working on your emotional intelligence, don't be hard on yourself when you're unable to manage. Take it as feedback and then you move forward.
Nabiilah, we've understood about the concept of emotional intelligence, how essential it is for interpersonal communication, but explain to us how can it be used in different ways and applied in our everyday life, be it workplace or even at home with our family.
Let's take it the moment we wake up in the morning. You wake up in the morning, and the first thing that you do, if you don't live alone, you live with someone, you would have to communicate, right? If it's your kid, if it's your partner, if it's your parents, you will have to communicate. Let's say you are in a bad mood, and the next moment you start yelling. It doesn't help, because then the mood of everyone will be low, etc. So how we can use emotional intelligence in that particular context is, if everyone in a household learn how to manage their emotion. Doesn't matter if you're annoyed, if you're happy, if you're sad, you will just have a way of communicating, a way of understanding, a way of treating each other. So now it's healthy. Now you finish your breakfast, etc., you go for work, you are on the road, and there's someone in the fast lane just sticking in front of you, and you are very much in a hurry. So instead of letting that anger overpower you, you are able to manage it. So you've gained another point. You go to work, you have a lot of colleagues around you, and some colleagues are very nice, others are not so nice. So instead of judging, you understand maybe that person had a bad day today. So I won't comment. I would just let her or him in his or her corner, and maybe with time I would just go and talk to him or her. So now you've gained another point. Instead of a conflict, you've been able to avoid a conflict. So this is where it helps you. You go for an interview, you feel very fearful. You are able to manage your emotion. You've gained another point there. Okay, so this is where emotional intelligence can actually serve you.
What are the factors, though, that cause a low emotional intelligence? Is it linked with the childhood trauma or maybe insecure attachment style?
Yes. If people been watching all the series,
Yeah.
it's like a series now.
Yeah.
We've talked about we talk about insecure attachment during childhood. I've mentioned that during childhood, child go through a lot of traumatic experience that predispose them to have bonding issues, avoidance style, that is they avoid communicating or they are very anxious. So all of this, even it carries in your adult life. Now when it comes to your adult life, you start feeling anxious because there is things that happen that was wrong during your childhood or during your adulthood that made you the way you are. So now how does emotional intelligence come into play? When you are anxious, when you're fearful about a relationship, if you now try to develop your emotional intelligence, you will be a little bit more aware of why you are avoiding certain situation, why you are anxious in certain situation. And the king here is you will be able to regulate it. If you are able to regulate it, you are able to decrease the consequences to a 50%. So that's the how everything is linked.
It takes time, you're right, to learn how to regulate the emotions. It's not easy all the time to be able to manage that.
If you have a good understanding of what is an emotion and the different steps of how to manage an emotion, what are the things that you need to do, it happens within a click. But if you don't know, then you would try different things and it won't work, and then you will try other things, then it's difficult.
There should be that motivation as well. It's a cause and effect relationship.
Absolutely, because if there's no motivation, there's nothing. If you are not motivated to learn about yourself, to be emotionally intelligent, then there's no use of even talking about it. You have to develop that motivation inside yourself. Like, why do I want to be someone who is emotionally intelligent? What will that bring to me? How would that benefit other people? Then once you've developed that motivation, everything just comes.
Can we say that it impacts a lot on the personality of a person then?
Emotional intelligence, yes, because when we talk about personality, I'm talking about what type of person you
Yeah.
are, okay? So yes, if you are an emotionally intelligent person, you are preferred,
Yeah, there's certain ease to
yeah,
talk.
you are socially desirable then, because people
Definitely.
would want to talk to you. You are someone who is in control. You are someone who is who understands others. You are very good at talking to people. So then you become very socially desirable. So you are considered as having. Normally, people will consider that as personality. Okay, so this makes you. This is the correlation, if you want. But I want people to understand also that when we psychologists or coaches, we talk about personality, we talk about really very complicated stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It helps a lot in the self-esteem as well. Like you become more confident in a certain way.
Let's say, to answer your question, I would give you an example. Let's say I'm someone who had a trouble, I don't know, this morning, and then I come here and I'm all angry, irritated, etc., not able to regulate myself. So then that emotion will impact me. Now I have to, you're asking me the question, we are having an interview, and I'm very angry. So what will happen is the ability of me to reply the questions won't be to 100% or even to a 90%. So then I won't feel confident. When I'm not confident, I would kind of ask myself the question, but Nabiilah, who you are as a person, you're not able to do simple stuff. So this is how everything is linked. Okay? But instead, if you are someone who is emotionally intelligent, you will know, no, this happened in the morning, I'm going to keep it aside and move on. Now I feel confident because I've been able to shift my state.
We are actually drawing towards the end of this episode, but before that, Nabiilah, any tips you would like to share with our youngsters on how to develop emotional intelligence and why is it so important for them?
First of all, the message that I would like to give all youngsters, just take your head out of this phone for a little bit. Because you are not becoming aware of who you are. You won't be aware of who you are. There's so much filters, etc. happening. The real exploration of yourself is you can't do it because you are looking at another version of yourself. So just step out of the virtual world. Just step out of this world of social media and take a time to really understand who you are. What are your values? What do you want in life, etc. Ask yourself these questions that will facilitate your self-awareness. From there, you take it as the next step. So what can I do? Do I have to read books? Do I have to go to trainings? Do I have to go in a session to just learn how to develop it? Why it's important? Because it's going to help you in your relationship. It's going to help you in your studies. It's going to help you in your workplace. So in all aspects of your life.
Thank you so much, Nabiilah. It was such a delight to have you on the set tonight and learn more about this concept of emotional intelligence. I hope that this episode will help others as well in managing their emotion in a much better way.
Thank you very much, Koya, for just inviting me again and just to give me such important topic to talk about. Yes, I really hope that they get that positivity in that show today. And we can change more people's lives.
Definitely.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Dear viewers, we have now come to the end of this episode. Thank you for your time. We hope to catch you next week at the same time, same channel. Have a great evening.